The stars shined brightly against the black void of space as the UESC Intrepid cruised through the outer reaches of human territory. Commander Jack Russell sat in his command chair, watching the main screen with calm, experienced eyes. This was his 5th year commanding the exploration vessel, and these mineral survey missions had become routine. "Commander, we're approaching the designated survey area," said Lieutenant Ryan Cooper from the navigation station. Jack nodded. "Bring us into standard orbit and prepare the survey drones." The Intrepid was a mid-sized vessel, not Earth's most impressive ship but reliable and well-equipped for its scientific mission. The year 2157 marked humanity's cautious expansion beyond the solar system, with colonies on Mars, Europa, and a small outpost in the Alpha Centauri system. Humanity had yet to encounter other intelligent life, though most people believed it was only a matter of time. Science Officer Lisa Grant looked up from her monitoring station, her brow furrowed. "Commander, I'm detecting an unusual energy reading at the edge of our sensor range." Jack turned toward her. "Natural phenomenon?" Lisa shook her head, her fingers moving quickly across her console. "I don't think so. The energy signature is too uniform, too purposeful." Jack felt a slight tension in his shoulders but kept his voice even. "How far?" "About 2 million kilometers and closing fast. Much faster than our ships can travel." Lisa looked up, her eyes wide. "Whatever it is, it's not using conventional propulsion." Lieutenant Cooper spoke up next. "Commander, the object is changing course. It appears to be heading directly toward us." Jack stood up. "Yellow alert. Notify the support vessels to take defensive positions. Open a channel on all frequencies." Communications Officer Greg Miller nodded. "Channel open, sir." Jack stepped forward. "This is Commander Jack Russell of the United Earth Space Command vessel Intrepid. We are on a peaceful scientific mission. We welcome peaceful contact with all spacefaring species." The bridge fell silent as they waited for a response. Seconds stretched into a full minute. "No response on any channel, sir," Greg reported. Lisa suddenly gasped. "Commander, the object just dropped out of what appears to be faster than light travel. It's enormous." The main screen shifted to show a massive vessel appearing in normal space. It was sleek and black, shaped like an elongated arrowhead, and it dwarfed the Intrepid by several orders of magnitude. Its surface had no visible windows or external structures, just smooth obsidian-like material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Magnify," Jack ordered, his mouth suddenly dry. The screen zoomed in on the alien ship. It was nearly a mile long with strange blue energy pulsing along grooves in its hull. "Continue broadcasting on all," Jack began, but Lisa cut him off. "Energy spike. There." A brilliant beam of blue light shot from the alien vessel, striking one of the Intrepid's support ships. The small research vessel exploded instantly, fragments scattering into the void. "Red alert! Shields up!" Jack yelled. But the alien ship fired again, destroying the second support vessel before the Intrepid's crew could react. The bridge erupted into activity. Warning alarms blared as crew members rushed to battle stations. "Evasive maneuvers," Jack ordered. "Get us out of here." Lieutenant Cooper's hands flew across his console. "Engaging emergency thrusters." The Intrepid lurched as it turned away from the alien vessel. A blue beam grazed their shields, causing the entire ship to shudder violently. "Shields at 60%, called out Chief Engineer Paul Davis over the intercom. "We can't take another direct hit." Jack gripped the arms of his command chair. "Maximum speed. Head for the asteroid field." The Intrepid accelerated toward a dense field of asteroids nearby. Another energy beam shot past them, missing by mere meters. "They're pursuing, sir," Lisa shouted over the alarms. "Prepare to release sensor buoys. We need to record everything we can about this encounter." Jack's mind raced. If they survived, Earth would need every bit of information they could gather. The Intrepid weaved between asteroids, using the natural cover to shield themselves from direct fire. The alien ship, despite its size, moved with surprising agility, continuing its pursuit. "Sir, I've analyzed their weapon signatures," Lisa said, her voice steady despite the chaos. It's some form of plasma-based technology, far beyond our current capabilities. Another hit rocked the ship, sending sparks flying from a nearby console. Shields. At 30%, Paul reported. Engine efficiency dropping. Jack made a quick decision. Release the boys now, then prepare the jump drive. Greg looked up in alarm. Sir, the jump drive hasn't been fully tested at these distances. We don't have a choice, Jack replied grimly. Set coordinates for Earth. We need to warn them. As the sensor buoys deployed, spreading out in different directions to maximize data collection, the Intrepid's experimental jump drive began to power up. It was designed for short-distance emergency escapes, not long-range travel. Jump drive at 80%, Cooper reported as another blast shook the ship. 90, 95. The alien vessel closed in, its next shot clearly aimed to finish them off. Jump now, Jack ordered. The stars on the view screen stretched into lines as the jump drive activated, pulling the Intrepid into a form of space-time distortion. The ship shuddered violently, and for a moment Jack thought they might break apart. Then suddenly everything stabilized. When the view screen cleared, they were in empty space, far from the attack site. Damage report, Jack called out, surveying his shaken crew. Paul's voice came through the intercom, strained but alive. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4 contained by emergency force fields. Jump drive completely burnt out. Main engines operating at 40% efficiency. Life support stable. Jack took a deep breath. Casualties? Lisa checked her console. 12 injured, 3 critically. No fatalities aboard the Intrepid. But they all knew the 37 crew members on the support vessels hadn't been so fortunate. Where are we? Jack asked quietly. Cooper checked the navigation systems. About halfway to Earth, sir. The jump was more successful than we could have. Oh, Jack nodded. Set course for Earth, best possible speed, and prepare all our data for immediate transmission. Earth needs to know what's coming. As the damaged Intrepid limped toward home, Jack stared at the recording of the alien ship on his personal screen. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it was worse than they could have imagined. 3 weeks later, Jack stood before the United Earth Council in Geneva, his formal uniform uncomfortable after months in standard ship attire. The council chamber was packed with government officials, military leaders, and scientific advisors. Commander Russell, began Council President Maria Diaz. Your report describes a completely unprovoked attack. Are you certain there was no misunderstanding? No action that could have been perceived as threatening? Jack stood straight. Madam President, members of the council, we were conducting a standard mineral survey. We broadcast greetings on all frequencies. The alien vessel's first action upon arrival was to destroy 2 unarmed scientific ships without warning. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Admiral Bill Harris, head of the UESC, spoke next. Based on the data from Commander Russell's sensor buoys, this alien species possesses technology far beyond our own. Their weapons, propulsion, and energy generation capabilities exceed ours by at least a century of development. Science Director Nancy White stood up. The good news, if we can call it that, is that the sensor buoys gathered significant data before they were destroyed. We've begun analyzing their technology. If we devote all our resources to military advancement, we might be able to narrow the gap. President Diaz looked grim. How long until they reach Earth? Unknown, Jack replied. But they know where we came from. I believe we must prepare for the worst. As Jack left the council chamber, Lisa Grant was waiting for him. They've approved emergency funding for defense research, she said. I've been assigned to lead a team studying the alien weapons technology. Jack nodded. They're calling themselves the War Council now. Earth is unifying like never before. Lisa's expression was solemn. Do you think we have a chance, Jack? Against something that powerful? Jack looked out the window at the Geneva skyline, possibly seeing it for the last time in peace. They've never encountered humans before, he said quietly. They may have better technology, but we have something they don't expect. What's that? Lisa asked. Jack turned to her, his eyes reflecting determination rather than fear. We don't give up. Not ever. If they want to exterminate humanity, they'll have to fight for every inch, every planet, every life. And I don't think they're ready for that kind of fight. 5 years passed since the first alien attack. Earth changed in ways no one could have imagined before. Cities now had defense shields. Space stations orbited every planet in the solar system. Military ships patrolled constantly. Admiral Susan Bell stood at the window of her office on Lunar Base Alpha, looking out at Earth. Her gray hair was cut short, and lines creased her face from years of stress and little sleep. "They're coming," she said to the officers gathered behind her. "Our deep space sensors detected a large group of ships entering the solar system." Colonel Frank Martinez, the head of Special Operations, leaned forward. "How many?" "At least 50. Large vessels and over 200 smaller ones," Susan replied, turning away from the window. "More than we expected." The room fell silent. Humanity had built up its forces over the past 5 years, but they were still outnumbered. "What about Project Firewall?" asked Dr. Alan Wright, the chief scientist for defense technology. Susan nodded. "Jupiter's defense grid is active. Colonel Martinez's teams are in position." After the first attack, Earth's leaders had decided not to defend only Earth, but to fight for the entire solar system. Jupiter, with its many moons and thick atmosphere, became the first line of defense. Frank stood up. "My people are ready. The mining colonies have been converted to defense bases. We have surprise on our side." In his office aboard the largest alien ship, Supreme Commander Ket Varak reviewed the data about the human solar system. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and eyes with vertical pupils. His species, the Vorax, had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. "This will be a simple operation," he told his officers. "Like the 100 others we have completed. These humans are primitive. Their technology is basic." His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Relk, bowed slightly. "We will begin with their outer settlements, as always." Ket Varak nodded. "The mining colonies on the large gas planet will fall first. Then we move inward. Standard procedure." The Vorax had followed this pattern for every species they had wiped out. Start at the edges. Work inward. Leave no survivors. They had never failed. "Prepare the first wave," Ket Varak ordered. "I expect this operation to be completed within 1 Earth year." What the Vorax didn't know was that a human spy was listening to every word. Kate Wilson, disguised as a service worker on the ship, had infiltrated the Vorax fleet 6 months earlier. Her skin had been altered to look blue, and special contact lenses hid her human eyes. As soon as the meeting ended, Kate slipped away to send a message to Earth. The tiny transmitter hidden in her tooth sent the Vorax attack plans through a quantum channel that couldn't be detected. "They're coming to Jupiter first," she reported. 20 ships in the first wave. They expect no resistance." On Jupiter's moon, Callisto, Colonel Frank Martinez received Kate's message. He gathered his troops. "Remember your training," he told them. "We don't fight fair. We don't fight by their rules. We fight to win." Frank had spent years studying guerrilla warfare tactics from Earth's history. His soldiers were trained to use Jupiter's environment against the enemy. They had hidden bases inside moons, weapons platforms concealed in the gas giant's clouds, mines scattered through the asteroid fields. The Vorax fleet arrived at Jupiter with confidence. They had destroyed many planets before. They expected this to be no different. The first wave of ships spread out, heading toward the mining colonies on Jupiter's moons. They didn't scan for hidden weapons. They didn't look for traps. They had never needed to before. Frank waited until the alien ships were in perfect position. Then he gave the order. Now. All across the Jupiter system, human forces sprang into action. Hidden missile launchers emerged from the surfaces of moons. Fighters launched from bases concealed in asteroid fields. Mines activated in the paths of Vorax vessels. The first 3 Vorax ships were destroyed before they even realized they were under attack. 2 more were severely damaged by mines. The others scrambled to respond, but they were confused by the attacks coming from all directions. On his command ship, Ket Varak received the alarming reports. 5 ships lost? Impossible, he shouted. These are primitive beings. Relk checked the incoming data. Sir, they appear to have prepared defenses. They're using the moons for cover and attacking from multiple positions. Find their main force and destroy it, Ketvarak ordered. But there was no main force to find. Frank had spread his people across the Jupiter system in small groups. When the Vorax concentrated on one area, that group would retreat while another attacked from behind. After 6 hours of battle, 7 Vorax ships had been destroyed and 5 more damaged. The humans had lost some fighters and a few bases, but most of their forces were intact. Frank gave the order to pull back to secondary positions. Make them think they've won. Let them come deeper into our trap. The Vorax pursued the retreating humans, believing they were close to victory. Instead, they were led into a dense region of Jupiter's atmosphere, where their sensors couldn't penetrate the thick gases. Hidden human ships waited there, launching new attacks from point-blank range. On Earth, Admiral Susan Bell watched the battle reports with a mixture of hope and worry. They're doing better than expected, she told Dr. Wright. But this is just the beginning. Alan nodded. Project Phoenix needs more time. Can Martinez hold them off? He doesn't need to win, Susan said. He just needs to make them bleed. Back at Jupiter, Frank's forces continued their hit-and-run tactics. They would strike quickly, then disappear into Jupiter's clouds or behind its moons. The Vorax grew increasingly frustrated. After 3 days of fighting, the Vorax had lost 12 ships. The humans had lost hundreds of fighters and several bases, but the Vorax progress had been stopped. Ketvarak was furious. No species had ever inflicted such losses on a Vorax fleet. He called for reinforcements and personally took command of the Jupiter campaign. These humans use cowardly tactics, he told his officers. They hide and run instead of facing us directly. But they are effective, sir, Relk pointed out carefully. Perhaps we should adjust our approach. No, Ketvarak slammed his fist on the table. We will not change our methods because of these primitive creatures. Send in the second wave. Overwhelm them with numbers. Kate Wilson, still undetected among the Vorax, sent another message to Earth. They're bringing in more ships, but they're confused by our tactics. Their commander is making mistakes because of anger. Susan received the message and called an emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council. We've surprised them, but they're adapting, she explained. We need to accelerate all defense projects. Martinez cannot hold Jupiter forever. Dr. Wright stood up. Project Phoenix is progressing. The prototype ship will be ready in 6 months. The Vorax will reach Mars before then, Susan said grimly. Then we'll fight for every inch of space between Jupiter and Mars, said General Lee, commander of the Mars Defense Force, and make them pay in blood for each mile. As the meeting ended, Susan looked again at Earth through her window. She knew the real war was just beginning. The Vorax had never faced a species that fought back effectively. They didn't know how to handle failure. For the first time in thousands of years, the Vorax were learning fear, and humans were just getting started. 8 years had passed since the first Vorax attack. Mars had fallen 6 months ago after a fierce battle that lasted nearly a year. The red planet was now a Vorax stronghold, its human colonies destroyed or abandoned. Earth's moon was under attack, with Vorax ships landing more troops each day. In a secret underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, engineer Peter Daniels worked with his team on humanity's greatest hope. The massive hangar housed a ship unlike any built before. Power systems at 98%, reported his assistant Sam Lee. The jump drive is stable. Peter nodded, his tired eyes fixed on the ship. The UESC Defiance was Earth's first true battleship, a hybrid of human ingenuity and adapted Vorax technology. Its sleek hull gleamed under the lights, nearly 5 times larger than any previous human vessel. We're ahead of schedule, Peter said. Admiral Bell needs to know. In her command center beneath what remained of London, Admiral Susan Bell received Peter's report with the first real hope she had felt in months. The Defiance is ready? She asked, barely hiding her surprise. Yes, Admiral. Peter's voice came through the secure channel. All systems are operational. The jump drive works perfectly in tests. Susan turned to her staff. It's time for Operation Wildfire. Get me Captain Jones. Captain Olivia Jones was reviewing defensive positions on the far side of the moon when the call came. She had been fighting the Vorax for 7 years. rising quickly through the ranks as other officers fell in battle. "Admiral," she said, snapping to attention when Susan's face appeared on her screen. "Captain, report to Earth immediately. You've been chosen to command the Defiance." Olivia's eyes widened slightly, but she kept her composure. Every officer in the fleet knew about Project Phoenix and its flagship. "Yes, Admiral, I'll depart immediately." As Olivia's shuttle left the moon, she could see the Vorax ships in the distance. Their main command carrier orbited the moon, a massive vessel that directed all Vorax operations in Earth's vicinity. Supreme Commander Ketvarik had taken personal command after the unexpected resistance at Jupiter and Mars had slowed his campaign. On that command carrier, Kate Wilson continued her dangerous undercover work. For 8 years she had lived among the Vorax, gathering intelligence and sabotaging their operations when possible. Her reports had saved countless human lives, but the strain of maintaining her disguise was taking its toll. Kate slipped into a maintenance tunnel and activated her hidden communicator. "Phoenix Base, this is Nightshade. The High Executor is coming." At Phoenix Base, Dr. Lucy Barnes received Kate's message. The scientist had been studying Vorax communication technology for years. "Admiral, we just got word from our operative," Lucy told Susan. "The Vorax are sending their High Executor to oversee the Earth campaign." Susan frowned. "What does that mean?" "The High Executor is like their supreme military leader," Lucy explained. "Thaz-Ral is his name. He's never been deployed except in the most difficult campaigns. It means we've hurt them badly enough that their leadership is worried." Susan nodded slowly. "It also means they're bringing reinforcements." 3 days later, Captain Olivia Jones stood on the bridge of the Defiance. Her crew, the best survivors from across the fleet, manned their stations with quiet efficiency. "All systems online," reported Lieutenant Hector Ramirez from Tactical. "Weapons hot." "Jump drive ready," added Lieutenant Diane Park from Navigation. Olivia took a deep breath. "This is Captain Jones to all hands. You know our mission. The Vorax think they have us beaten. Today we show them how wrong they are. For Earth. For Earth," the bridge crew responded in unison. The Defiance powered up its engines and rose from its hidden hangar. Unlike conventional ships, it didn't need to climb gradually through the atmosphere. The reverse-engineered Vorax technology allowed it to accelerate straight up at incredible speed. In lunar orbit, Ketvarak received an urgent alert. Unknown contact approaching from Earth at high velocity. "Show me," he ordered. The screen displayed a ship unlike any human vessel he had seen before. It was moving at speeds the humans shouldn't have been capable of achieving. "Impossible," he whispered. Before he could give orders, the human ship vanished. "Where did it go?" Ketvarik demanded. His sensor officer looked up in confusion. "It just disappeared, sir." "Find it," Ketvarik shouted. The Defiance reappeared directly behind the Vorax command carrier, its jump drive allowing it to teleport short distances in space, something the Vorax had never seen before. "Fire," Olivia ordered. The Defiance's main cannons, enhanced versions of Vorax plasma weapons, fired in perfect sequence. The energy beams cut through the command carrier's shields like they weren't there. On the Vorax ship, alarms blared as systems failed across the vessel. Ketvarik staggered as explosions rocked his ship. "Return fire," he ordered, but it was too late. The Defiance jumped again, reappearing at a different position, firing another devastating volley before the Vorax could target it. Kate Wilson felt the explosions from her position in the maintenance area. She knew what was happening. The Defiance had launched. She needed to get to an escape pod before the command carrier was destroyed. After 3 more precision jumps and attacks, the Vorax command carrier was crippled. Escape pods launched from all sections. "Sir, we must evacuate," Relk told Ketvarik. The Supreme Commander stared at the screen in disbelief. No one had ever damaged his flagship so severely. No one had ever forced him to retreat. "This is not possible," he said, even as another explosion rocked the bridge. Relk physically pulled him toward the escape pod. "The High Executor is arriving. Soon. You can report to him directly. On the Defiance, Olivia watched the Vorax commander's escape pod launch. Should we pursue? Asked Lieutenant Ramirez. Olivia shook her head. No. Our mission was to cripple their command structure and prove the Defiance works. We've done both. Take us back to Earth. As the Defiance jumped away, the Vorax forces around the moon fell into disarray. Without central command, different ship captains made contradicting decisions, some retreating, others attacking randomly. 3 days later, a massive Vorax fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. At its center was a ship 3 times the size of any previous Vorax vessel. Aboard was High Executor Thaz Ral, the most feared military leader in the Vorax collective. On Earth, in her laboratory deep beneath Geneva, Dr. Lucy Barnes made a breakthrough. For years, she had studied the quantum communication technology the Vorax used. Admiral Bell, she said, her voice excited despite her exhaustion. I figured it out. The Vorax don't just communicate through quantum entanglement. They're dependent on it. Their entire battle coordination relies on it. Susan leaned forward. And? Lucy smiled for the first time in months. And I've found a way to disrupt it. Not just block it, scramble it. If we deploy these devices throughout the solar system, we can sever their communication completely. Susan stood up. How quickly can you build these disruptors? With the resources of every factory on Earth? A month, maybe less. Susan nodded. You'll have them. Meanwhile, we need to prepare for the biggest fight of our lives. The Vorax are sending everything they have. Across what remained of human territory, preparations began for a final desperate stand. The Defiance would not be enough against the reinforced Vorax fleet. But with Lucy's disruptors and humanity's determination, there was still hope. As Thaz Ral's massive fleet approached Earth, he received the report of Ketvarek's defeat. The High Executor had never known failure in 300 years of military service. These humans, he said to his officers, have proven more troublesome than any species we have ever encountered. But they will learn, as all others have, that resistance against the Vorax is futile. We will not just destroy their military. We will burn their world to ash as an example to any who would dare to challenge us in the future. What Thaz Ral didn't know was that humanity had no intention of being an example. They planned to be the exception. Earth's situation grew more desperate by the day. The massive Vorax fleet led by High Executor Thaz Ral had pushed through the outer planets and now approached the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The remaining human forces retreated before them, unable to stand against such overwhelming numbers. In the war room beneath Geneva, Admiral Susan Bell gathered her commanders for what might be their final strategy session. Operation Thunderstrike is our last chance, she told them. If it fails, Earth falls. Commander Jack Russell, now scarred and battle-hardened after 8 years of fighting, studied the holographic display of the solar system. The quantum disruptors are ready? Dr. Lucy Barnes nodded. All 50 have been completed. They need to be placed at these specific points throughout the system to create a complete disruption field. Susan turned to Colonel Frank Martinez. Your guerrilla forces are still hidden in the Kuiper Belt? Frank smiled grimly. Yes, Admiral. The Vorax think they wiped us out at Jupiter. They don't know we pulled most of our forces back to the outer system. And the Defiance? Susan asked. Captain Olivia Jones stepped forward. Ready for action, Admiral. The jump drive has been improved. We can now make 5 consecutive jumps before needing to recharge. Susan took a deep breath. Then we're as ready as we'll ever be. The plan is simple but dangerous. While our main fleet engages Thaz Ral's forces near Saturn, drawing their attention, Commander Russell will lead a strike team to deploy the quantum disruptors. Once activated, the disruptors will sever all Vorax communication, throwing their fleet into chaos. Jack looked at his small team of volunteers. They would be flying directly into enemy territory with little chance of return. We understand the risks, Admiral. We're ready. The next day, the remaining ships of Earth's fleet, nearly 300 vessels of various sizes, formed up near Saturn's rings. Against them came the Vorax Armada, over 1,000 ships led by Thaz Ral's massive command vessel, On the bridge of the UESC Valiant, Admiral Bell gave the order. All ships engage the enemy. Remember your training. Hit and fade. Don't stay in one place long enough to be targeted. The human fleet moved forward, employing the tactics they had developed. Over years of fighting the technologically superior enemy, small, fast ships darted in to attack larger Vorax vessels before quickly retreating. Larger human ships provided covering fire from behind Saturn's many moons. From his command ship, Thaz-Ral watched with disdain. "The humans fight like vermin," he told his officers, "nibbling at our forces instead of facing us directly." His second-in-command, Vice Executor Dren, was more cautious. "They have proven effective at this style of warfare, High Executor. Perhaps we will crush them with overwhelming force," Thaz-Ral interrupted. "Commit the entire fleet. I want Earth in sight by the end of this cycle." As the battle intensified near Saturn, Commander Russell's team of 5 small, stealthy ships slipped past the Vorax lines. Each carried 10 of the quantum disruptors developed by Dr. Barnes. "Remember, the disruptors must be placed precisely according to the coordinates," Jack reminded his team. "The timing of activation is crucial." The small ships separated, each heading to different parts of the solar system. Jack's vessel headed toward Venus, the most dangerous placement as it required approaching Earth where Vorax patrols were heaviest. On the Vorax command carrier, Kate Wilson received an encrypted message about Operation Thunderstrike. After 8 years undercover, she had risen to the position of a maintenance supervisor, giving her access to critical systems. Today would be her final mission. She made her way to the ship's central communication hub, the quantum core that linked all Vorax vessels. In her pocket was a small device Dr. Barnes had specially designed for her to plant at the heart of the enemy's network. "What are you doing here?" asked a Vorax guard at the entrance to the core chamber. Kate showed her work. "Order. Scheduled maintenance on the cooling systems." The guard checked her credentials and nodded. "Proceed." Inside the chamber, Kate quickly attached the device to the main quantum processor. It would activate along with the other disruptors, amplifying the disruption effect from within the Vorax's own command ship. Near Saturn, the battle was going badly for the human fleet. Despite their tactics, they were simply outnumbered. One by one, Earth ships were being destroyed or disabled. "Admiral, we've lost 30% of our forces," reported Captain Jones from the Defiance. "We can't hold much longer." Susan checked the time. "We need 10 more minutes. Russell's team is almost in position." Jack's ship approached Venus, evading Vorax patrols through a combination of stealth technology and skillful piloting. They reached the designated coordinates and launched the disruptors, which positioned themselves in a precise pattern around the planet. "Last team reporting in," Jack said over the secure channel. "All disruptors in position." In her command center, Dr. Barnes received the confirmation. "Admiral, we're ready." Susan nodded. "Activate the disruptors." Lucy pressed the activation sequence. Across the solar system, the 50 quantum disruptors powered up simultaneously, creating a field of disruption that spread through space. On every Vorax ship, communication systems suddenly failed. The quantum network that allowed their perfect coordination collapsed. Ship captains could no longer receive orders from their commanders. Tactical information could not be shared. On Thaz-Ral's command ship, alarms blared as systems failed across the vessel. "What is happening?" the High Executor demanded. "Our quantum network is down," reported a frantic officer. "We cannot communicate with the fleet." In the chaos that followed, Vorax ships began to collide with each other. Some fired on friendly vessels, unable to distinguish friend from foe without the network. The perfectly organized armada became a disorganized mass of confusion. Kate Wilson seized the moment of chaos to head for an escape pod. Her cover was likely blown once the Vorax realized their systems had been sabotaged from within. As she ran through the corridors, she encountered Thaz-Ral himself, surrounded by guards. Their eyes met briefly, and Kate saw the moment of realization in the High Executor's gaze. She was discovered. She ran, ducking into a maintenance tunnel. as plasma fire scorched the wall behind her. Near Saturn, Admiral Bell ordered the counterattack. All ships concentrate fire on designated targets. Captain Jones, the Defiance is free to engage. The human fleet, smaller but still coordinated, began to inflict serious damage on the confused Vorax forces. The Defiance jumped from position to position, its enhanced weapons tearing through Vorax capital ships that could no longer coordinate their defenses. Thosral, seeing his fleet falling into chaos, made a decision. Prepare for immediate withdrawal. We must regroup beyond the disruption field. His ship turned away from the battle, heading toward the outer solar system. Several hundred Vorax vessels followed, while others continued fighting in disarray. The High Executor is retreating, reported Susan's tactical officer. Susan didn't smile. He's not fleeing. He's regrouping. Captain Jones, pursue Thosral's ship. We cannot let him escape to gather reinforcements. The Defiance broke off from the main battle and gave chase, jumping ahead of the retreating Vorax vessels. In the Kuiper Belt, Colonel Martinez received the signal he had been waiting for. All units prepare to engage. The Vorax are coming to buy us. Hidden among the thousands of ice bodies at the edge of the solar system, Martinez's guerrilla fleet powered up their engines. The trap was set. As Thosral fled toward what he thought was open space, he was heading straight into an ambush. Kate Wilson, her cover completely blown, fought her way to an escape pod. She had done her part. Now she just needed to survive long enough to see Earth's victory, if victory was even possible against such a powerful enemy. The battle in the Kuiper Belt would later be known as the Battle of Pluto. High Executor Thosral's retreating fleet, still disorganized from the quantum disruption, flew directly into Colonel Frank Martinez's waiting forces. All ships execute attack pattern Omega, Frank ordered from his command ship. Hidden among the ice dwarf planets and frozen asteroids, 200 human vessels powered up and attacked the surprised Vorax from all directions. What the human ships lacked in size and power, they made up for in preparation and positioning. The Vorax, unable to coordinate their responses without their quantum network, fell into further disarray. Some ships tried to fight, others continued to flee, and some collided with each other in the confusion. Aboard his massive command ship, Thosral raged at his officers. How did we not detect these human forces? Our scouts reported the Kuiper Belt was clear. They must have been hiding here for months, Vice Executor Dren replied. Their ships power down completely when not in use, making them nearly impossible to detect among the ice bodies. Thosral slammed his fist on his command console. 3,000 years of Vorax dominance will not end because of these primitives. Prepare the singularity weapon. Dren looked alarmed. High Executor, the singularity weapon has never been used within a solar system. It could destabilize. Do it, Thosral shouted. If we cannot have this system, no one will. Meanwhile, Kate Wilson had managed to reach an escape pod but found herself unable to launch. The Vorax had locked down all escape systems. She was trapped aboard the command ship. Making a quick decision, Kate headed for the auxiliary control room. If she couldn't escape, she would do as much damage as possible from within. The UESC Defiance emerged from a jump near Pluto, directly in the path of Thosral's flagship. Captain Olivia Jones surveyed the battle with grim satisfaction. Martinez's ambush was working perfectly. Target the High Executor's ship, she ordered. All weapons, full power. The Defiance fired, its advanced weapons striking the Vorax flagship's shields. The massive alien vessel shuddered but continued forward. Their shields are still operational, reported Lieutenant Ramirez. But they're weakening. One more direct hit should— Captain, interrupted Lieutenant Park from the sensor station. I'm detecting an enormous power buildup in the enemy flagship. Energy readings are off the charts. Olivia frowned. Analysis? It appears to be some kind of artificial singularity, Park replied, her voice tense. If they activate it here, it could tear a hole in space-time large enough to destroy the entire outer solar system. Olivia opened a channel to Admiral Bell. Admiral, the Vorax are preparing some kind of doomsday weapon. We need to stop them, immediately. Understood, Captain, Susan replied. All available ships concentrate fire on the High Executor's vessel. This is Priority 1. Human ships from across the battlefield converged on Thazaral's flagship, firing everything they had. But the massive vessel's shields, though weakened, still held. Inside the Vorax ship, Kate Wilson reached the auxiliary control room. Using her supervisor access, she logged into the system and saw the warnings about the singularity weapon preparing to fire. "Not on my watch," she whispered. She began typing commands, trying to override the weapon's activation sequence. An alarm sounded as the system detected her unauthorized access. Security protocols locked her out of the main controls, but not before she managed to reroute power from the shields to the life support systems. On the bridge, Thazral noticed the shield strength suddenly dropping. "What is happening?" "Shield power is being diverted," an officer reported. "Internal sabotage detected in auxiliary control." "The human spy," Thazral hissed. "Send security teams immediately." But it was too late. With the shields weakened, the combined firepower of the human fleet finally broke through. The Defiance's main cannons tore into the Vorax flagship's hull, destroying weapon emplacements and engine nacelles. Kate felt the ship shudder as explosions ripped through it. Security forces would reach her soon. She focused on one final task, the singularity weapon. She couldn't shut it down completely, but she could change its target. With a few quick commands, she redirected the weapon to fire inward instead. Of outward, Vorax security forces burst into the room, weapons raised. Kate looked up at them calmly. "You feared nothing in this galaxy," she said. "That was your mistake." The security team leader fired, but at that same moment, the ship was rocked by another direct hit from the Defiance. The shot went wide, and Kate used the moment of confusion to hit the final key in her sequence. Alarms blared throughout the Vorax flagship as the singularity weapon turned on itself. A small black hole began to form in the center of the ship, pulling everything toward it with ever-increasing force. "Evacuate," Thazral ordered. "All personnel to escape pods." The High Executor and his command staff rushed to their private escape vessel as the ship began to tear itself apart from the inside. "The enemy flagship is collapsing," reported Lieutenant Park on the Defiance. "They've lost engine power and weapons." "All ships pull back to safe distance," Olivia ordered. "That singularity could expand." Kate Wilson knew she wouldn't escape. The gravity from the growing singularity made it impossible to reach the exit. As equipment and debris flew past her toward the black hole forming in the ship's core, she sent one final message to the human fleet. "This is Operative Wilson. Singularity weapon has been redirected inward. It will destroy the flagship but should collapse on itself afterward. It's been an honor serving with you all. For Earth." From the Defiance, Olivia watched as the Vorax flagship imploded, collapsing in on itself in a brilliant flash of light. When the light faded, nothing remained but scattered debris. "Message from Admiral Bell," Lieutenant Ramirez said quietly. "The rest of the Vorax fleet is surrendering or retreating. We've won." 2 years later, Peter Daniels stood on the observation deck of the new UESC Alliance. The massive ship, twice the size of the Defiance, gleamed in the sunlight as it orbited Earth. "She's beautiful," said Admiral Susan Bell, now with more gray in her hair but standing straighter than she had in years. Peter nodded. "The first of our deep space exploration vessels, built for peace rather than war." "An appropriate legacy," Susan replied. In the 2 years since the Battle of Pluto, much had changed. The Vorax Collective had fractured after their defeat. Some factions continued to fight, but many sought peace with the humans who had accomplished the impossible. More surprising were the messages that came afterward from dozens of other species throughout the galaxy. Species that had hidden from the Vorax for centuries, some developing their own advanced technologies in secret. Earth now stood at the center of a growing alliance of worlds united by their desire for freedom. On the main bridge of the Alliance, a memorial plaque honored those who had given their lives in the war. At its center were the words spoken by Kate Wilson before her sacrifice. "They feared nothing in the galaxy until humanity fought back. Now let's teach them something they've Never known. Peace. Captain Peter Daniels, formerly the engineer behind Project Phoenix, took his place in the command chair. His first mission would take the Alliance to a diplomatic conference with former Vorax worlds and other, newly revealed civilizations. As the ship prepared to depart, Peter looked at the stars on the main view screen. For the first time in human history, those stars represented not just mystery and danger but opportunity and hope. "Helm," he said, "take us out." The Alliance moved gracefully away from Earth, its powerful engines glowing softly as it accelerated toward the stars. Humanity had earned its place in the galaxy through courage, sacrifice, and determination. Now they would help build a future where no species need fear annihilation again. In the vast darkness of space, the Alliance's lights shined like a beacon, carrying forward the legacy of all those who had fought and died so that humanity could reach this moment. They had not just survived, they had changed the galaxy forever.